Most people hear the word discipline and immediately feel a knot in their stomach. They think of strict rules, punishment, or life without joy. They picture waking up at 5 a.m., eating bland meals, or working endlessly without rest. But that's not what real discipline is. Real discipline is freedom. It's the quiet structure that removes chaos from your life. It's the habit that keeps you from being controlled by impulses, distractions, and short-term temptations. Discipline doesn't take your life away. It gives it back to you. Why discipline matters? Think about it. Without discipline, money slips through your fingers. Without discipline, your health declines, not because you don't care, but because you keep saying, "I'll start tomorrow." Without discipline, dreams stay locked in notebooks and journals because you never follow through. The lack of discipline doesn't just cause problems, it multiplies them. Every little decision made without discipline plants seeds of future stress. But with discipline, those same problems begin to disappear. Your money grows, your health improves. Your mind feels clear, your dreams move from imagination to reality. The good news, you don't have to transform into some iron-willed machine overnight. You don't need military-level self-control. All you need are a few simple practices, easy ways to start steering your life instead of letting life steer you. Because discipline isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in small, daily steps. And the beauty of it is that every step compounds. Each small act of discipline gives you a little more control, a little more freedom, and a little more peace. The journey we're about to take. In this video, we'll explore 5 easy ways to become more self-disciplined. Not abstract theories, but real practical steps you can use to make discipline a natural part of your day. By the end, you won't just see discipline differently, you'll feel differently about yourself. You'll understand that discipline isn't about living less, but about living better. One of the biggest myths about self-discipline is that it requires massive effort from the very beginning. People imagine they need to wake up tomorrow and overhaul their entire life. Hit the gym for 2 hours, delete every social app, meditate for 30 minutes, work nonstop, and eat perfectly clean meals. That's why most people fail. Discipline doesn't collapse under laziness. It collapses under the weight of trying to do too much, too soon. The truth, discipline isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. Why small steps matter. Think of discipline like a muscle. If you walk into a gym after years of never working out, you don't start by lifting the heaviest weight. You start with something light, something manageable. The point isn't to impress anyone on day one. The point is to build strength so you can handle more tomorrow. Discipline works the same way. When you start small, you give yourself a chance to succeed daily. Each win builds trust with yourself, and that trust compounds into confidence. Real-life examples. Want to start exercising? Don't begin with an hour at the gym. Start with 10 push-ups or a 15-minute walk. Want to read more? Don't force yourself to finish a book in a week. Start with 5 pages a day. Want to save money? Don't stress about thousands. Start by saving $1 or $2 daily. It builds the habit of consistency. What matters isn't the size of the action. What matters is showing up. Every single day. Why most people skip this? Because small steps feel too easy, too insignificant. People want dramatic change, fast results, overnight transformation. But here's the paradox. Those who chase big leaps often quit, while those who commit to small, steady steps end up transforming completely. It's not glamorous, but it works. The shift? When you focus on starting small and staying consistent, self-discipline becomes less about willpower and more about identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to get disciplined." Instead, you quietly prove to yourself day after day, "I am disciplined." And once that belief takes root, your actions naturally grow bigger, stronger, and more sustainable. So if you want discipline that lasts, don't aim to conquer the mountain in one leap. Take the first step, then the next. And before long, you'll realize you've built a habit so strong it feels natural. That's how discipline begins. Not with intensity, but with small, steady wins. 2. Discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about what you don't have to resist. Most people think being disciplined means constantly battling temptation, fighting the urge to scroll social media, eat junk food, spend impulsively, or waste time. They imagine discipline as a constant struggle of willpower against distraction. But here's the truth, willpower is fragile. It runs out. Even the most disciplined people don't win every battle of temptation. They simply design their lives so they have fewer battles to fight. Why environment beats willpower? Think about it. If your desk is cluttered with snacks, your diet will be harder. If your phone buzzes every 5 minutes, your focus will shatter. If your money sits where it's easy to spend, you'll swipe it away without thinking. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your intentions do. So if you want discipline to feel easier, you don't need to be stronger. You need to set up your surroundings so temptation never has a chance. Real-life examples. Want to study more? Delete distracting apps from your phone during the week or use website blockers. Want to eat healthier? Don't stock your kitchen with junk food just in case. If it's not there, you can't eat it. Want to save money? Automate transfers to a savings account you don't touch so you never even see the money available to spend. This isn't about being weak, it's about being smart. You're removing the battle entirely instead of fighting it every day. Why most people resist this? Because it feels restrictive. People say, "Brr, but I want to keep the option there. I just need to have more control." But here's the paradox. By removing temptations, you gain more control, not less. You free your energy from pointless battles so you can focus on things that actually matter. The emotional shift: when you remove temptations, you stop living in constant resistance. You don't waste energy saying no 100 times a day. Instead, you make one smart decision up front, and that decision protects you over and over. It feels lighter, easier, more natural. Discipline stops being a daily grind and becomes the path of least resistance. The shift: self-discipline doesn't require endless self-denial. It requires designing a life where your default choices are the right ones. Because when your environment supports your goals, you don't have to fight yourself. You simply flow in the right direction. 3. Here's something few people realize. Most of your willpower is wasted on decisions, not actions. Every time you ask yourself, should I work now or later? Should I cook or order food? Should I study or scroll my phone? You drain a little bit of energy. By the end of the day, you're not lazy. You're exhausted from making 100 tiny choices. And when you're exhausted, discipline slips. That's why the most disciplined people in the world don't rely on endless motivation. They rely on routines, systems that remove the need for decisions. Why routines work? A routine is like a pre-made choice. Instead of asking yourself, what should I do now? Your brain already knows. You've created a pattern. And the more you stick to that pattern, the less mental energy it takes. Brush your teeth, read 5 pages. Morning coffee, write your journal. After class, hit the gym. The decision disappears, the action becomes automatic. Real-life examples. Fitness. Instead of asking, should I work out today? Set a fixed time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. No choice, just routine. Work, study. Have a start ritual, like making tea, putting on headphones, and opening your laptop at the same time each day. It signals your brain it's time to focus. Money. Automate bills and savings so you don't keep deciding when to save or spend. The less you leave to choice, the more your discipline stays intact. Why most people struggle? Because routines feel boring, they feel restrictive. People want freedom. But here's the paradox. True freedom comes from structure. When your important habits are automated, your brain is free to focus on creativity, connection, and growth, not constant decision-making. The emotional shift? Routines don't kill spontaneity, they protect it. When your basics are automated, your health, your money, your priorities, you actually have more energy for surprises, adventures, and joy. Without routines, life feels chaotic. With routines, life feels calm, and calmness makes discipline sustainable. The shift. When you build routines that remove decisions, self-discipline stops being a daily fight. It becomes effortless, predictable, automatic. And once discipline is automatic, you no longer waste energy asking, should I? You simply live in alignment with what matters most. 4. If there's one skill that separates disciplined people from everyone else, it's this: the ability to wait. Most problems in life come from chasing instant rewards, eating junk because it tastes good now, spending money because it feels good now, skipping work because rest feels good now. But here's the catch: those now rewards create bigger problems later. Junk food brings health issues. Impulse spending brings debt. Procrastination brings stress. Self-discipline is the art of flipping that script. It's choosing the long-term win over the short-term thrill. Why it matters? Psychologists call it delayed gratification, the ability to resist a smaller reward now for a bigger reward later. And study after study has shown it's one of the strongest predictors of success. Because life always asks, will you choose comfort now or freedom later? Will you choose pleasure now or progress later? Those who consistently wait, who invest, who hold out for the bigger reward, they build lives most people only dream about. Real-life examples. Money. Instead of buying the new phone today, you invest that money. Years later, it multiplies into something life-changing. Fitness. Instead of the cake today, you choose healthy food. Weeks later, you feel stronger, lighter, more confident. Work. Instead of binging Netflix, you finish your project. Later, you enjoy the real reward, peace of mind and achievement. Every small choice of delayed gratification builds a life of abundance. How to practice it daily. Start small. Wait 10 extra minutes before eating a snack. Put $10 aside before you spend on entertainment. Delay responding to a text until you've finished a task. These micro moments build the muscle of waiting. And the stronger that muscle gets, the easier bigger sacrifices become. The emotional shift. At first, delaying gratification feels like deprivation, like you're missing out. But over time, you realize something powerful. You're not depriving yourself. You're upgrading yourself. Every time you wait, you're proving to yourself that your future matters, that you matter. And that sense of self-respect becomes addictive in the best way. The shift. Discipline isn't about denying yourself joy. It's about trading small, fleeting pleasures for deeper, lasting fulfillment. When you practice delayed gratification daily, your problems shrink because you stop creating them. Instead of digging holes you'll have to climb out of later, you're building ladders that take you higher. 5. No matter how strong your willpower is, your environment, and especially the people in it, shapes you more than you realize. You've probably heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's true. If you surround yourself with people who complain, procrastinate, and avoid responsibility, discipline will feel impossible. Their habits will rub off on you. But if you're around people who show up, push themselves, and live with integrity, you'll find it easier to stay disciplined because their energy pulls you upward. Why people matter? Discipline isn't just about habits, it's about culture. And the culture you live in is created by the people closest to you. If your friends spend weekends drinking, you'll likely join. If your peers waste money on impulse purchases, you'll feel tempted to do the same. If your colleagues cut corners, you'll feel pressure to lower your own standards. But change the people and the culture shifts. Suddenly, the norm becomes growth, not excuses. Real-life examples. A student who joins a study group with focused peers almost always performs better than if they studied alone. A runner who trains with a team runs faster simply because the group's pace challenges them. An entrepreneur surrounded by builders and thinkers is far more likely to push through obstacles than one surrounded by doubters. It's not magic, it's influence. How to build your circle. You don't need to cut everyone out of your life, but you do need to be intentional. Seek mentors who live with discipline, not just success. Spend more time with friends who encourage your growth. Limit your exposure to people who constantly pull you back into bad habits. And remember, your circle doesn't have to be physical. Books, podcasts, online communities, these are all ways to surround yourself with discipline builders, even if you don't know them personally. The emotional shift. When you're around disciplined people, you stop feeling like the weird one for working hard, saying no to distractions, or choosing long-term gains. Suddenly it feels normal, natural, expected. And that's the key. Discipline thrives when it feels like the standard, not the exception. The shift. Self-discipline isn't built in isolation. It's built in community. When you surround yourself with people who challenge, support, and inspire you, their discipline becomes contagious. And over time, you realize you've not only built habits, you've built an environment where discipline is simply who you are. Self-discipline often gets painted as something heavy, strict, even joyless. But if you've followed this journey, you've seen that discipline isn't about living less. It's about living better. Think about what we explored. By starting small and staying consistent, you learned that discipline doesn't have to be overwhelming. It grows step by step. By removing temptations, you discovered that the smartest form of discipline is designing your environment to make the right choice, the easy choice. By building routines that remove decisions, you realized that structure isn't a cage. It's a safety net that frees your energy for what really matters. By practicing delayed gratification, you saw that true discipline isn't about denial. It's about trading short-term comfort for long-term peace and success. And by surrounding yourself with discipline builders, you understood that no one succeeds alone. Our habits are contagious, and choosing the right circle makes discipline feel natural. These aren't just habits. Together they form a way of living where life feels less chaotic, less stressful, less reactive. Problems shrink because you stop creating them. Goals feel closer because you keep moving toward them. And most importantly, you start trusting yourself. And that trust, that's what changes everything. When you know you'll show up, even in small ways, you stop doubting, you stop delaying, and you start building. A gentle reminder, don't pressure yourself to master all 5 at once. Pick one, begin small, stay consistent. Because the point of discipline isn't to be perfect, it's to be free. Free from distraction, free from regret, free from the chaos that undisciplined living creates. Someday you'll look back at the version of yourself who struggled with self-control, and you'll feel grateful. Not because life magically got easier, but because you got stronger. Discipline isn't the loud, dramatic change. It's the quiet, steady rhythm that carries you toward the life you actually want to live. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never mistake discipline for restriction again.